And we're rolling. Someday I'll have a fancy camera and I won't be all grainy looking. I kind of like the grainy looking. I like the doing the videos at night where it looks like you're in a cave. That's going to be a theme. Meditation cave. All right, shooting from the hip once more. Today I'm going to do 5 minutes or more on the case of Jenny Cockell. Press the right button here and go to the share screen. Jenny Cockell, born in 1953. We know her birthday, we don't know her birth time. And she remembers the life of Mary Hand Sutton. This is one of the most famous cases. In fact, Jane Seymour played her on TV once. This has gotten uh, a large amount of media attention. And then Jenny herself is quite the researcher. She's written at least 4 books, even one where she says she has an inclination of a future life where she'll be born in Nepal in 2050. Maybe I'll be a part of that one just for fun. I don't know. I'll have to ask her. So I'm going to demonstrate now what we can do with scarce information. All I found, thanks to findagrave.com, was the date of death for Mary Hand Sutton. Now, you want to look this one up. There is great interviews on YouTube. Jenny herself is quite eloquent. And in fact, Mary Hand Sutton dies with 8 children. And she dies in Dublin, but they were living in Malahide on the Swords Road. I'm sure I've been there, at least in Swords one night. She comes into this life with very strong memories and is quite concerned for her children that she left behind. And in fact, in the 80s, early 90s, she finds her children when they are old and they accept her, at least one called Sonny, who was born in 1923. He passed in 2002. And the first time they met, it was filmed with a documentary crew. So this is quite the case. Definitely look it up. Catch is there's scarce information on the internet, and I haven't read the books. I took a book out of the library once years ago on this case, so I haven't poured through to try to see if I could find a birth date for Mary Hand Sutton, but I don't think it's there. If anybody has it, it's Jenny, and I'm going to attempt to contact her to see if she has information. She's quite the researcher. But rather than wait and get a nice camera uh, and have all the information, I'm going to show you what I know today. So, thanks to Find a Grave, we find out that Mary Hand Sutton dies on the 24th of October, 1932. Here it is right here. I've thrown a noon chart. So, if you don't have a time, you can always look at where things were at noon on a particular day. So, we're comparing 2 noon charts to see what we can see. Outer planets aren't going to move. Saturn's not going to move. The moon will move about 13 degrees during the day. So when we see the moon here in this chart, you plus 7 degrees, you minus 7 degrees, you plus 7 degrees, you minus 7 degrees, and you realize that the day that Mary died, the moon was in Leo, and probably about 10 o'clock at night went into Virgo. The moon here could, if Jenny was born just after midnight, she'd have a Gemini moon, but for the rest of the day, the moon is in Cancer. We don't even have an ascendant, and Mercury probably moves 1 degree during that day. Everything else is fairly pretty much the same, including the sun. It's only going to move 1 degree. So the first thing I did was find Jenny's birth chart. So in here in blue, what we see, first thing that jumps out, of course, is the Saturn Neptune conjunction. I've got a Saturn Pluto conjunction, and I've got about 6 past lives that I'm tracing down. And so maybe a Saturn conjunction with another planet means that you're tuned in to something beyond. That's my first interpretation. Now, the other thing I noticed was that at noon, she has a sun. I'm to go down and show you the degrees. Sun and Mars conjunction. Now, by about 4 in the afternoon, this sun is going to be in the next degree. So it's either at 17 degrees or 18 degrees. Interestingly enough, if it does go into 18 degrees, she's born with Uranus exactly conjunct 1842. 1842. I know that exact minute. Someday, when I show you Casey's chart, she died with Neptune at a perfect square at 1842. Ooh, wow. We must be a soul group or something because it's just how do you run into these similar numbers? So the cool thing about 17 degrees Cancer is that that is the 108th ordinal degree of the zodiac, counting from the first degree of Aries. So first thing I see is a conjunction here, 1717. That's 108. Okay, interesting. Is this the life of someone who's going to remember past lives? Probably. If you've got 108 involved, I've got 108 in my chart twice. In fact, my moon is exactly opposite this point. So perhaps these degrees just tune us in. I don't know. I'm totally running off res here. So let's look at the math. Now, when I first saw this chart, I did not have the red outer planets. In fact, I just got the red outer planets in the last half an hour. This is why I'm going to go over 5 minutes, I can tell. Try not to mumble here. So I said, well, there better be a good hard aspect to this degree. And what did we find? When I find the day of death for Mary Hand Sutton, a perfect opposition of Uranus. If you've watched the past two videos, you realize Uranus and the outer planets communicate between lives. In fact, I am a Vedic astrologer, and we don't use outer planets. But if you want to look at past lives or lineages, guru lineages, anything that involves lifetime after lifetime, you look at these outer planets and they're dead giveaway. What I say to look for, don't interpret them, look for exact degree aspects, especially conjunctions and oppositions. This isn't random. Statistically, you know, do you know? Do you know? Maybe you do. Uh, there are no odds, as Casey and I would always say. What are the odds that we had the same name, Casey? That's just funny. Okay, so number one, here we go. Before I see the red planets, I say there better be a good hard aspect. First thing I get is a good hard aspect. And I'm going to show you. It's an aspect from this Neptune. Oh, was I looking at Saturn? No, what was I looking at? What was I tripping out on? Oh, it's Uranus. Okay. Okay, so it's 21 degrees here to 21 degrees here, these two outer planets. That shows you. So this moment happens. And then what is it? 32 minus 8, is that 30, 21 years later? We get a outer planet conjunction with Saturn, exactly opposite that one. Okay, that is statistically improbable. The next thing I see is that Moon, Pluto, Moon, Pluto. So Pluto moves from here to here from 1932 to 1954. And during this day, the moon crosses Mars. So in the morning, the moon is here and it's going to go do past Mars, make a conjunction at some point. If I ever, no, I'll probably never get the time of death. Probably will never get the time of death for Mary Hand Sutton. So we'll never exactly know, unless the hospital records have it. And it's amazing what can turn up. So Pluto goes from here to here, and then the moon ends up making this exchange. You wouldn't really call it, what, no, I can't remember the Sanskrit word. Okay, never mind. Let's keep going. So one of the interesting things, we'll look at Jenny's chart. She's got sun, moon, Uranus, signifier from death, shows up with the sun and the moon, the two luminaries, personal signifier planets, including Mars with the moon, Mars with the moon. That's another, add that to the box. This is highly suggestive that these two charts, these two moments are communicating with each other. So an interesting thing I'm seeing here is a 144-degree aspect between Chiron, which is another, it's not an outer planet, but I use this if you're doing past life astrology. both the Lilith point, this is the mean Lilith point, and Chiron, they give things away. I don't know what they mean, but trust the math on it. I do know what they mean. It's a wounded healer. It's a pretty good book by Barbara Hand and Chiron, and I begrudgingly accept that most of it is true. Vedic Vedic astrologers don't always like to use the newer planets, but it is what it is. So, what else do I see? Oh, you don't see it here. It wouldn't draw the line for me, but this Neptune. So Neptune is highly significant in Jenny's chart. Neptune here is making a 144-degree aspect. The biquintile, 144 and 72 are very important when we're doing reincarnation or lineage astrology to this North Node. So Jenny, who is living her life, doing past life research, remembering her lives, sharing her story so that other people who remember past lives feel like they have support and then they can speak and they're not weird. She has spoken out about this, that she wants to share her story to normalize it for other people, which is, I'm all about that. So this Neptune, which is highly significant, transiting, is making this fifth harmonic to her North Node. So that's another remarkable thing because we're actually watching time move. We're watching Pluto go from here to here, Neptune go from here to here over the course of 21 years. Then Saturn goes all the way around, right? And then lands at this exact degree when Neptune is, I'm sorry, Uranus. Yeah. So no, in time later on, sequential time, these two come together and they come together exactly post this at the time of death. So this is about all I can gather from the chart right now. I don't have a time of birth or even a birthday for Mary Hand Sutton. But when we find the day that she dies and the day that she reincarnates, I believe there might be a life in between. I'm gonna have to get those books. There's a lot of books I need to get. So I must have gone well over 5 minutes now, but I just wanted to share this bit because if I do get in contact with Jenny and she gives me more information, how cool will this be? We have something. This shows you my process of like what can I do with just 2 moments in time to see if they resonate. Oh boy, do they resonate. Holy smokes. There's probably 5 other things in here I haven't even seen yet. So the joy of doing research. I've got 3 planets in Scorpio and we love our research. Dig and dig and dig. So this will be it for now. Sketch number 1, Jenny Cockell reincarnated. What need to say the first one first. Mary Hand Sutton, reincarnated as Jenny Cockell. So let's see if we can get any more information, and I'll be sure to share it with you. And sketch number 2, sketch number 3, we'll see where we're at by then. Thanks for being along with me for the ride, and I will see you later, probably from my meditation cave.